just like the vast majority of Americans, I'm sure those of you out there within the sound of my voice are finding it increasingly difficult to get by month to month. The first just seems to come sooner and sooner, and the money runs out faster and faster. That having been said, given what has transpired in the last 48 to 96 hours, I would highly advise getting gasoline. I think a lot of people have forgotten what happened in 2003 when Bush launched shock and awe into Iraq. We're on that precipice again. It's only a matter of time. The President of the United States, Donald Trump, has issued an ultimatum to the leader of Iran. Basically, it's either surrender or die. And they're not going to surrender. And given the enormous amount of military resources that over the last month or so that has moved its way into this region, I don't think there's any avoiding war at this point. And it's going to be something very different than what we did to Iraq. Very, very different. This may have well been on another planet, decades and decades and decades ago. People forget 2003 and what happened. And Florida Monkey, aren't you think you're kind of being a little bit alarmist? Search March 2003 gas shortages. You see the same things happening now that was happening then. People are all excited because gas is so cheap, getting cheaper and cheaper, right? What does that do? That increases demand. When you increase demand like that, what happens to on-hand supplies? That's right, they go down. In March 2003, gas shortages and huge price spikes were driven by a convergence of low fuel inventories, the onset of the Iraq War, and a major oil strike in Venezuela. Now, this might have something to do with why Trump went in and took out Maduro, hoping these oil companies would flow back in there and get everything going in time, and not realizing that takes years and years to stand that stuff up. But another video for another day. Causing significant, though often temporary, supply disruptions. That was a different world. There will be significant supply disruptions, and they will go on and they will linger. These events pushed U.S. consumer anxiety high, leading to soaring, albeit often temporary, prices and long lines at the pumps. See, people aren't going to be... You see these long lines at the pumps, and you got to remember, there was really... And then let's just be honest. There was really no what we consider to be the internet in 2003. There was no social media in 2003. There was no Twitter, no Facebook, no Instagram, no YouTube, no none of that. See, this stuff's going to happen, and it's going to happen instantly, and it's going to go all across the country, the news of it, instantaneously. That didn't happen in March of 2003, and it still caused a problem. I don't think they realize what's going to truly happen. And right now, mid-February 2026, U.S. crude oil inventories are approximately 419.8 million barrels, 5% below the 5-year average. Inventories decreased by 3.2 million barrels, and diesel by 4.6. A tightening supply market. Why? The price is so low. That's going to be the problem. Now, here's a basic layout of Iran being surrounded. All these yellow squares represent aircraft carriers and destroyers. 1, 2, 3, 7, 8, 10, 13 of those, and there's probably more. I know for a fact there's more on the way because it doesn't count the Lincoln, which is currently transiting in the Mediterranean, and its carrier and its group. And then, of course, we have all of the bases. It's pretty much, and also what it doesn't show the 3 or 4 dozen refueling aircraft. 3 or 4 dozen mid-air refueling aircraft that have landed in the region in the last, week or so, I guess. Real quick, before we get any further, I never want to forget, God bless all of you who've continued to join us and stay with us over at the Florida Monkey Patreon channel. Very much appreciate it. I know those of you out there are like, wait a minute, Florida Monkey, it's been like 11 days, 12 days since we put up a video. I know. Things are changing very, very fast. And I don't want to put out a video over there that has 2 days of shelf life and then everything's changed. There's going to be a lot of psyops. There's going to be a lot of attempts to wrangle the hearts and minds of the American public to get behind this war. But the problem is there are already thousands, not tens of thousands, of U.S. military veterans who've heard this story before about going to war in the Middle East, who know they were lied to, who know they were used, who don't really care so much anymore about all the glad handing and the backslapping and the, well, you should be proud to be blah, 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 and, Toby Keith songs and all this kind of stuff. They're not, their buddies are still dead. Their wives, their sons, their daughters are still dead. And all the jingoistic hoopla that surrounded the Iraq war isn't going to fly this time. You see, I wouldn't want to be a recruiter. I wouldn't want to be somebody in the military right now trying to sell this to someone. Even as someone who has been trained in psychological operations, I don't think I could sell it. Because honestly, anybody who wants to sign up for the military, put them in the next room with somebody who signed up back then. Because of all of the, I want to be a patriotic American thing. And see what those guys would tell you about the reasons we went into Iraq, the reasons we went into Afghanistan, what they were told was going to happen versus what actually happened. Why do you think there have been so many military suicides in the last 20 years? The phenomenal uptick in guys offing themselves because of what happened. That's going to be another problem. But once again, criminals don't obey laws, nor do they care about the long-term ramifications of their actions, do they? I mean, most people think a long time ago was Obama. Obama got elected in 2008. What happened here was 5 years before that. How many of you remember this little thumbnail that I used a few months ago? Saw this coming. That we were going to be in this Obama version of the world or Trump version of the world, and that's going to be it. Those are going to be the two worlds that you get to choose to live in. Trump came out and said something very curious, that Obama was being questioned, and he said, somebody asked him, are aliens real? And he said, yes, they are. When you say, are aliens real? That's asking somebody an opinion. It's truly asking someone their opinion. Do you believe aliens are real? Now, that's, probably something we should talk about over the Patreon channel, that distinction without a difference. If you would ask somebody, are aliens real? You'd have to assume that they would know the answer to that question. Because you couldn't ask that question like under a polygraph. Why? Because no one really knows. It's not like asking somebody, is the sky blue? Well, I haven't been outside today. It could be gray. It could be white. It could be nighttime, and nighttime's definitely not blue. You see what I mean? You're asking somebody a fact about something, whether they should or should not know it. And by definition, the reason I bring all that up is because Trump said what he revealed was classified. Well, you can't classify someone's opinion of something. If someone has an opinion about something or other that they have no proof for, you can't say, well, that's classified. Only accepted known facts can be classified. Like, for example, when Elon Musk says, we only have 6 years left. Is that a fact? Is that classified? It's a one man's opinion. You might agree with it, you might not. But it has no weight, no substance, more so than your 8-year-old nephew's opinion. I mean, yeah, that man's a billionaire and your 8-year-old nephew. When it comes down to just what you believe at one given moment in time, let's take a look here. If you think that I'm being crazy or I'm getting off the point here, this is actually, I'm going to dial this into Texas sharpshooter. Look at from November of 2011 all the way up till 2013, this being full 8 years after shock and awe. Donald J. Trump, in order to get elected, Barack Obama will start a war with Iran. Next year, January, Barack Obama will attack Iran in order to get reelected. Donald Trump, 2013, I predict that President Obama will at some point attack Iran in order to save face, because at this point he'd already been reelected and hadn't attacked Iran. And then, of course, not very long later, remember that I predicted a long time ago that President Obama will attack Iran because of his inability to negotiate properly, not skilled. Well, See, I'm wondering if the president even has the ability to remember 12 years ago. Really. I'm not lying about that. I'm not making this up. I'm not, trying to pull the wool over your eyes here. I don't know if this 80-year-old man has the ability to remember 12 years ago. Most people don't remember this thumbnail. And it was only a couple months ago I put this up. There was a seismic tremor under Iran a couple days ago. Some people think they were testing a nuclear weapon. But that wasn't really necessarily reported, was it? Was it? Now, this all having been said, I wanted to share something, and it's a little bit to do with prepping, a little bit to do with psychological operations, a little bit to do about what we're going through right now. What you're looking at here is I just stopped the screen, a Patriot nurse video from November 14th, 2014. Now, she'd probably kill me for showing this, so I'm not going to play it for you. But it's not a very long video. She's out for a run, out for a jog. It's a kind of a late fall day in 2014, and some of her supporters have been asking, what meds should you store in case of an upcoming problem or some upcoming issue? And the answer that she gave 12 years ago would probably shock a lot of people, given lately that she has a vast knowledge of herbs and she has her own herbalism supply store. Back then, she said, well, you should probably have things that should get people out of pain pretty quick, like Tylenol and ibuprofen and Advil. And you should also have things that stop people from throwing up or stop people from having diarrhea. And she goes through a list of things you can get over the counter. She talks about Benadryl. So Tylenol, Benadryl, Pepto-Bismol, Phenergan. Phenergan's prescription only, at least it was at that time. And so I think that would shock a lot of people. They say, wow, Patriot Nurse, I thought you were more of an herbalist and more of a natural. All these over the counter. That's a very recent thing. And I'd like to ask a question. Real quick, though, let me show you something. One of the good reasons, my particular good reason, is for having things like Benadryl, Pepto, Dramamine, aspirin, hydrogen peroxide, hydrocortisone, Robitussin, Imodium, having this kind of stuff around is because if you have animals, you can give all of these things to animals and they're fine. They're dog-friendly OTC medications. Now, let me ask you a question. You're in a shit-as-the-fan, grid-down survival situation. Now, ideally, many people would say, well, gosh, I'm sure glad I went to the Patriot Nurse store and I got my stash of herbs and all this kind of stuff and ginger root and all these everything, the Dr. Christopher's, all fantastic stuff for day to day. But let's say you were in that grid down, end of the world, barter trading kind of situation. Ask yourself a question. What if the dedicated herbalist in your group, something happened to him? Or you ran out of those specific herbs? And sometimes carrying around large amounts of dried herbs isn't really tactically efficient. But you can carry around packs of sealed Benadryl, packs of sealed aspirin. All of these things come in a packaging in a way that it lasts for a long time and can be used as a barter item. You know, you might have some container that you've labeled with a marker that says anti-nausea meds, and there's some kind of a liquid in there that you've created, and you can try to explain, well, I watched the Patriot Nurse, and she said to do this, 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 and this is what I have to barter. That person is going to be like, okay, maybe not. Am I going to trade for this? Will it work? You don't know. It's a guess, isn't it? It's a shot in the dark, right? Now, if you have Benadryl or you have Dramamine and you actually have the containers they came in, OTC, like from Walgreens, people are going to be far more willing to barter and trade for those than they will homemade remedies. See, that's kind of I'm not trying to pick on the Patriot Nurse here, everything in its time and everything in its proper place. And it's interesting to see her talk about OTC meds only 12 years ago, whereas today she made a video talking about not buying these 10 things, and amongst those 10 things that she was talking about were these OTC meds to save money. Okay, that's a good argument. Those things are getting kind of expensive. But and the reason I say this is because it comes all the way back down to gasoline. I'd rather have the gasoline now so that even when gasoline goes up, it gets more and more and more and more expensive, it might run out at certain places. And I'd rather have the gasoline than the money. There are times when gasoline's going to be a hell of a lot more valuable in reality than money will be. It's just like food. You see, the things that she suggests 12 years ago make a hell of a lot of sense for living in a grid down, power down, end of the world, shit is the fan society. There's things that you can trade, especially if you have a sick puppy or a sick dog. I don't know if all of those herbs and things that come in that Dr. Christopher's kit, if I'm not sure, they might be okay for dogs. Some of them might not be. You just don't know. You just don't know. Like herbs for heart health. Long-term supplementing, yes, but like right now, that's a tough thing. And you can look at AI, Benadryl, Tylenol, Pepto-Bismol. You can take them all right before bed. I'm sure a lot of people out there do. Take a Benadryl. Oh my God, man, I busted my shoulder earlier. A couple of Tylenol, and man, I wish I wouldn't have had those 24 mango habanero wings 3 hours ago. Sure wish I wouldn't have that. You got that acid reflux going on. So out pops the pink stuff. So you got, Benadryl helping you sleep. You got Tylenol killing the pain. You got the Pepto-Bismol keeping it all down. So just saying, not trying to pick on the Patriot Nurse, but I would wonder sometimes about the conversations that would be had between 2014 Patriot Nurse and 2026 Patriot Nurse. Just like now, I would love to have some conversations with my 33-year-old self back in 2003 and maybe see if I could change his mind. He was kind of a hard-headed type, so maybe not. But I think a lot of you get what I'm saying. Nobody really saw it coming back then either. And I just want to be the first one to kind of ring the alarm bells about getting gas. So I'll leave it there and let you folks peruse and discuss amongst yourselves. Thank you again, guys, for all of your patience over at Patreon. I very much appreciate it. I know it's been a while. There's still tons of content over there. If you want to sign up, there's still tons of content over there that you can go through, dozens and dozens and dozens of videos. And usually I try to get one up a week. It's been probably 11, 12 days now, so we're going to have one. Believe me, I'm watching this thing going on in the Middle East, and all of the ways they're going to try to trick your mind into getting behind this war when there's absolutely no reason to. So, once again, God bless. Pray for each other. Pray for me. I'll pray for you. Lift each other up. Like, share, subscribe. I'll see you guys next time.